It's been 2 years since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Millions of Ukrainians fled the country, most of them crossing the border into Poland in the first few months of the war. Many of those who left are waiting for the day they can return, while those who chose to stay are trying to be strong and survive. In this week's CNA Correspondent, we take a look at the resilience of the Ukrainian people as the war continues with no end in sight. Kyiv is never far removed from war, even though it's hundreds of kilometers from the Russian border. The streets are littered with poignant reminders of a daily reality where people risk losing their homes, their freedom, or was. Residents living in this apartment were woken up on January 2nd by sirens and explosions as Russia fired a barrage of missiles at the capital of Kyiv. I entered the building in search of survivors. I ran into Serhiy Dychenko, who was in his apartment when the attack happened.
Миттєво влетіли на мене рами і миттєво влетіли двері в кімнату. Коли я встав, то побачив, що вся квартира розтрощена. Дружина в крові.
His wife was injured, but survived. They built their home with love and raised their son here. But all of this is crumbling, with no running water and no heating in a harsh winter. Serhiy has moved out, only coming back to relive the broken fragments of his past. Now he relies on the kindness of friends for housing and even the coat he wears.
Я готовий вбити за це, розумієте? Порвати цього Путіна на шматки, голими оціми руками. Я вибачаюсь, на що саму десятки втратити все.
Anger over the constant devastation remains raw 2 years into the invasion, fueling resistance in every corner. This bakery sends nearly all its bread to Ukrainians who are living in regions of fierce fighting near Russia. This bespoke menswear studio tailors suits for frontline soldiers who are getting married. Behind practically every door, I find civilians who are powering the country's war machinery. Serhiy comes home from his IT specialist job to assemble drones for the Ukrainian military at night and in his free time. Alone in his storage room, he works tirelessly to wire up the components bought using donations and his savings. Each drone costs about $250 to $300 to make, cheaper than buying ready-made ones.
So I have a lot of friends who are joining the army, and now they have new need in FPV drones. So I started to assemble them in my home. Now we have a lot of companies who are producing drones, developing drones in Ukraine, but also it's not enough for our army because because the enemy has much more drones.
The devices put together by underground drone makers like Serhiy play a crucial role on the battlefield, in surveillance and in directing and conducting strikes. Here at a testing site, members of the Ukrainian Volunteer Army are putting a do-it-yourself drone through its paces before taking it to the front line.
Ворожа техніка, БТРи, танки, піхота, особовий склад, бліндажі, там, де вони перебувають, позиції.
They may be nimble, but cheaply assembled drones can be a hit and miss.
70% це що є влучання. А так буває, що заглуша дребом, тобто і дрон падає. Буває, що там попадаємо, якщо техніка або піхота знаходиться десь в посадці, і тобто, ти попадаєш в дерево, не попадаєш в саму техніку. Буває, що попадаєш в техніку, але вона, тобто, ніяких її не завдали таких ушкоджень, і повторно летимо, і повторно ще раз по ній.
The drones have their flaws. But to the soldiers who are putting their lives on the line, they're a heartening symbol of how Ukrainians are standing in solidarity with them. Most Ukrainians have families or friends fighting in the war, like 32-year-old Miroslava. She watched as her hometown Irpin bore the brunt of Russia's offensive 2 years ago.
If we will just stay or sit and doing nothing, we will lose. We will lose our country, we will lose our people, we will lose the closest member of our family. For example, I have a husband and I have a brother who is on the war and they are soldiers. So how can I just sit and do nothing?
Miroslava is a volunteer with a charity called Kyiv. It supplies food, military equipment, and life-saving tools like generators through fundraisers. Founder Vlad Samoilenki started out helping residents in Irpin, where it ran its operations from, only moving to Kyiv when it became too dangerous.
If I will not help other Ukrainians, other defenders and soldiers, I understand that someone can dead. And unfortunately, I have 14 guys who was killed Russian for these 2 years. We have just one way to live in our country: help our military forces or join military forces.
Here in Kyiv's St. Michael's Square, Russian tanks captured by the Ukrainian army are displayed proudly. A reminder of the people's courage and hope for victory. Ukrainians know their fate is inextricably linked to the outcome of the war, and their spirit of resistance remains unbroken 2 years into the invasion. A hero's send-off for a comrade fallen in battle. Heartbreaking scenes like this can be seen every day on the streets of Ukraine as soldiers return home in coffins. Is a visible sign of the toll Russia's invasion is taking. On the country and its military, which needs to replenish its ranks. There's no official data on the number of Ukrainians who have volunteered to fight in this war. But 2 years ago, recruitment centers across Ukraine, like this one in the city of Lviv, were flooded with volunteers who wanted to fight for their country. The halls of this recruitment center in the western city of Lviv are emptier now. But 19-year-old student Andriy Krivonis is here to sign up, specifically to join the Da Vinci Wolves Battalion, a legendary unit in the Ukrainian army.
Не страшно, але трішки страшно, так що це у кожного буде. І відреагували спершу негативно, зовсім негативно, але сказали, що це твоя доля, тому вирішуй сам.
Any Ukrainian man between the ages of 27 and 60 can be drafted to serve until the end of the war, and most men are encouraged to volunteer.
У нас кожен день є нові анкети, які люди заповнюють, як онлайн, так і приходять сюди. Далі кожен день у нас є співбесіди, я не можу називати цифру, але вони є, і люди приходять досить мотивовані, досить цікаві особистості.
Ukraine's defenders know they may have to pay a price for its freedom. Here in the heart of Kyiv, a field of flags honors soldiers caught in the crosshairs of war. Both Ukraine and Russia have lost a staggering number of troops since the start of the war 2 years ago. It's unknown exactly how many have been killed or wounded on both sides, but reports suggest the numbers run into hundreds of thousands, and thousands have also been made into prisoners of war. Wrapped in the country's flag and belting out the national anthem, more than 200 Ukrainian prisoners of war returned to their homeland in January in the largest prisoner swap since Russia's invasion. They were bruised, battered, but not broken. One of them was 35-year-old medic Ostap Reshetnik, who was held for more than 600 days.
В принципі, нам в камері не можна було розмовляти. В 6 ранку у нас підйом, і в 22 вечора в нас відбой. І від 6 ранку до 22 вечора ми 16 годин просто стояли, не рухались, руки за спиною, голова опущена. І тобто, якщо ти порухаєшся, навіть якщо ти поп'єш води без дозволу, то може відкритися двері в камеру. І або виведуть тебе одного, хто це зробив, або виведуть всю камеру. І 10 разів в день нас заставляли співати гімн цієї Росії. Заставляли вчити віршики всілякі. Інколи трохи сльози на очі находили, воно таке бувало моментами, що так було тяжкувато. Особливо, коли тебе виводять там зранку, скажімо так, натовчуть ні за що просто так, бо їм так хочеться. Потім стоїш такий, думаєш, от чого?
Thoughts of his wife and 2 children kept Ostap sane. And one day he was unexpectedly taken from his cell.
Довезли нас до аеродрома, погрузили в ІЛ, і коли нас запхали в автобус, тоді я вже розумів, що це вже точно не перевезення між зонами, що це вже, в принципі, дорога додому. Єдина надія була на те, щоб хоч би на кордоні нічого не зірвалося. Так, вже себе налаштовував, думаю, вже ще трошки, ще чуть-чуть, вже почти доїхали.
His wife had been waiting for his return for close to 2 years. Ever since she found out through a Russian telegram channel that he had been taken prisoner.
І брат однієї з полонених погодився створити групу, знайти нас всіх рідних і об'єднатися в групу, щоб кожен раз, як відбувалися обміни, в нас в групі активізувався чат. Тобто всі люди чекали, там ділилися, ой, а може там подзвонили, а туди вже подзвонили, а нам ще не подзвонили. Тобто я старалася не пропускати через себе ті всі емоції. І коли отримала дзвінок від спецслужб, що от ми вас вітаємо, ваш чоловік вже в Україні, в мене настільки був шок. Візуально, то, що він схуд, це ясно. Він, який був Остапом нашим, так і нашим Остапом він лишився.
Ostap is now free, and the ulcers he suffered from beatings are healing. But in a way, he still hasn't escaped.
Воно в голові сидить, згадується ці моменти, і коли знущалися, коли там били, ну, по-різному було. Більше зараз мене турбує соціум. Напевно, я от відстав на 2 роки від життя, і люди десь все бігають, десь все сумбурно, всі якісь такі. Буває деколи, от це йдеш, щось там, хтось про тебе пробігає, нагло, щось туди-сюди. В мене волосся стає як йожиком, але тут сам для себе заспокоююсь, думаю, та ладно, це ж я вже вдома.
Ostap says the soldiers in captivity just want to be reunited with their loved ones and is willing to go back to the front line to make that happen.
Підтримувати один другого. Так простіше буде. Так простіше дойти навіть до цієї перемоги. Щоб вже нарешті закінчилося це все, тому що дуже довго триває, дуже багато людям покалічило воно життя.
At first glance, this elementary school in Warsaw looks like any other. But it's a place of solace and refuge for some Ukrainian children who fled their country 2 years ago. Out of about 850 students at the school, more than 100 are Ukrainians.
На початку було дуже складно, бо я не знала взагалі польської, а потім, коли почала її вчити, практикуватися, то легше стало. І коли почала спілкуватися з поляками, вчителями на польській, то дуже легко.
The children were able to settle in with the help of Ukrainian teachers who also escaped the war. With them, the children can express their feelings freely.
I understand their language. They wanted to talk and say what they felt and how was, for example, how they scared about this war. Sometimes hug them, that they feel that they here we in like safe place and everything okay.
The school opened its doors to the Ukrainians when the war began, to give them the support and security they badly needed. And the small but thriving community has made school life colorful for the local children too. Nearly 50% of the Ukrainian refugee children are enrolled in Polish schools like this one, which set up new classrooms to help the Ukrainian children integrate with Polish students. And the other 50% are believed to be trying to continue their education online using the Ukrainian curriculum. 13-year-old Jan Chimachenko takes online classes while also attending a Polish school. He has Asperger's syndrome, which can impair social communication and interaction skills. But he and his mother, Ludmila or Luda, found warmth in Poland. Luda took Jan and crossed the border with just a suitcase in hand when the war broke, leaving behind her husband and elder son, who are both serving in the army.
С первого дня нам была дана единоразовая помощь сначала, когда вот мы только приехали, была помощь 300 злотых. Потом на детское нам давали это вот 500 злотых ежемесячно, а с 1 січня подняли 800 злотых на ребенка. Это очень большая допомога, это вот для детей, все, как бы это очень хорошо.
Luda's host, Monica Popliolik, is like family to her in Poland. Monica is a member of the country's Rotary E-Club, which arranged aid for Ukrainian refugees after the invasion.
We organized sandwiches, food, drink, aid, so that they could somehow survive this experience of crossing the border into Poland. Then we helped them by placing them in all of our friends' houses.
Time passed, and Luda and Yan have been living in her basement for almost 2 years now.
Luda is like a friend to me, so it's no hardship. But if you have a 2 or 3 room flat and you had to give your son's or your daughter's room to immigrants for a while and they stayed with you for half a year or 3 months or whatever, that might have been difficult at times.
Luda and Yan are just glad to have found shelter in this harsh winter of war and hope to rebuild their lives with their family here in Poland when the war ends.
Chcę zostać w Polsce, po prostu mnie podoba. Ja nie chcę возвращаться w Ukrainę. Po prostu ja nie chcę zobaczyć, czy budynki, doма разрушены, одинокие. Ja chcę zobaczyć ojca, babci, brata i mojego kota zabrać do Warszawy w Polsce.
The end of the war still seems far away. In the meantime, the queues of Ukrainians lining up for help are long. And offers of food and warm clothing increasingly scarce as the war drags on. Many of those who come to this refugee center in Warsaw city center are elderly Ukrainians. A large number feel isolated and cannot find jobs.
All those people are hoping to come back, but a lot of them lost everything, like home. It's hard for us, for NGOs. It's hard for refugees, but we need to continue help because this help is very needful now.
Amid the darkness of the war, younger Ukrainian refugees in Poland who are able to find work are determined to carve out a new life in their adopted country. 28-year-old Anastasia Kapralova fled Ukraine with her mother and a friend. Now she's working as a librarian near Warsaw. While she feels homesick, she is happy where she is now and is unsure if she wants to go back.
Коли ти знаходишся в Україні, це дуже сюрреалістичне відчуття. Навіть у великих містах ти бачиш, як продовжується життя, як, не знаю, працюють магазини, працюють ресторани, кафе, але просто в одну секунду може початись повітряна тривога, і ти ніколи не знаєш, куди це прилетить. Ти просто живеш з постійним відчуттям, хоча б не сьогодні, хоча б не я. Ти не можеш нічого планувати.
Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian refugees remain in Poland, and many are expected to stay, at least until the war is won.